Welcome to my YouTube channel, and today is a longer video where we will be going through 642 things to draw to become a better illustrator. Now, I have been working on this for a while. If you've seen my TikTok series, we have now reached 50 prompts. That's 50. And I just wanted to share them with you all and share them so far. Now, this is going to be a slightly longer video, so I recommend getting a drink or a snack before we dive into it. And if you guys like this, please let me know, and maybe we'll do every 50 or every 100. Please let me know in the comments. And with that, let's get started. Welcome to a new series, 642 things to draw to becoming a better illustrator. Now, I've had this book since COVID. I did start it in lockdown, I think, and I have just taken printer paper and stuck over any of the pages that I'd already done. I didn't really do it in order. I just flipped to a random page and was like, yeah, I'll do that one. And I think because of that, I didn't do it consistently. This time, we're going to go in order, and we're going to keep it really simple. We're just going to do a 0.05 fine liner, and that is it. Obviously, pencil to sketch, because I can't not sketch. But this one is a rolling pin. I went for bunny dough shaped bread because cute, and also gave me a chance to try and draw a rolling pin in perspective. I did show it to a friend and they were like, why are you so weird? And to that I say, why are you so boring? No, I'm joking. It's fine. Like, I know it's kind of an odd thing to draw, but hopefully just keeping it to a limited amount of materials. I think this will mean I'll be more consistent. I don't think this paper will hold up to anything like paint pens or anything. Maybe coloured pencils, but who wants to carry that around with them all the time? So this was the first prompt, and I found it quite fun. I'm trying to sort of settle on a style for it. There was my quick Fanta break. Come back for prompt 2. Welcome back to 642 things to draw to become a better illustrator. Today's prompt is a hammock. Now, I did have to look at some reference for this because who knows what a hammock looks like off the top of the head. Maybe some of you do, but I think I might have slight aphantasia. Is that how you say it? Where you just don't remember what anything looks like. I went for kind of a Hatsune Miku because every Miku is canon. I'm feeling summery. You do see me kind of struggle with her proportions a little bit, but at least her hands are behind her head and I don't have to worry about drawing that. But we are sketching everything out first because we can't all be Kim Jong-gi, and I'm not about to enter that era. And each page is still going to be using the 0.05 fine liner. We're trying to add a little bit more of a background into this one as well. And I want to try and keep my line weight quite simple. You see on the one before, I did try and thicken it up a bit, and that is just with colouring in some of the extra lines. But with this one, because there's a bit more going on, we kept it all the same line weight. And I kind of liked it. I think it's cute. I did colour in the eyelashes and the hairbands just to try and make them stand out a little bit. But this was day 2. Thank you for following along. Come back for day 3, where I actually don't know what the prompt is. We'll find out. Welcome back to 642 things to draw to become a better illustrator. This is part 3. We are drawing an anchor today, and tell me why it took me so long to find a reference for this that was in slight perspective and wasn't AI generated. I'm not entirely sure that the one I found wasn't AI generated, but you know, we still move. We are still going in with the sketch first and then going over it with a 0.05 fine liner just to keep it consistent, keep it a little bit easier to do. And obviously we changed some bits from the reference. I again went for a little bit of a beachy background. I know that the last one had a beach background as well, but anchors and hammocks, you know, they're both kind of seaside-y things in my head. Here we are going through adding all of the coral, seaweed, some tiny little starfish. Now this prompt didn't leave me a whole lot of space. It was just kind of a little square in the corner, which I'm kind of thankful about, because if it was any bigger, I think I would have taken far longer on this. And the whole idea of this is we're going to move through it fairly quickly. I don't want to spend a huge amount of time on the little ones and concentrate on some of the bigger prompts. We're just putting in an indication of some crashing waves there, not spending too long on the background. But yeah, this was day 3. Day 4 of 642 things to draw to become a better illustrator, and I forgot to film a time lapse. Welcome back to 642 Things to Draw to Become a Better Illustrator. Today's prompt is a desk chair. And here I wanted to try using the cube method to try and get it in a little bit of perspective. This technique is where you use a cube, or in this case a rectangle since the chair is quite elongated, to get the perspective and tilt it and use it as part of your guidelines. I had to go for a classic cat-themed e-girl chair because why not, to be honest. And again, we're still using the 0.05 fineliner to go over our guidelines. This one came out pretty cute. I'm quite pleased with how the perspective came out. It's not perfect, but it was good practice to try this technique since I haven't actually really utilised this one. So this was my part 5, and come back to see part 6. This is part 6 of 642 Things to Draw to Become a Better Illustrator, and today's prompt is Van Gogh's Ear. Now, the painting that I looked at was Van Gogh's self-portrait, where he painted actually the opposite ear that he cut off. He actually cut off the left ear, but the painting shows that it's his right, and this was painted in 1889, shortly after he was hospitalised. And I was looking at this and really trying to figure out how to put a lot of his brush strokes and the style that he used, since I am only using a 0.05 fineliner, and I decided to go for little indications of brush strokes, so little, almost like cross-hatching but not quite, and really trying to capture the same proportions as the painting. This prompt was interesting. It reminded me of the trip I took to the Van Gogh Museum, which is interesting and also slightly emotional to see what this man went through for his art. But yeah, the next prompt is sandwich, so see you then. It's part 7 of 642 Things to Draw to Become a Better Illustrator, and today's prompt is a sandwich. Now, I don't know why some of the prompts are really tiny and some of them they give you an enormous page, but this one I decided to draw a strawberry sando inspired by the recent M&S controversy around their strawberry and cream sandwich, because in the UK some items can get taxed more than others, and that includes cakes. And the debate is this sandwich a sandwich, or is this sandwich a cake because it's sweet? This also happened with Jaffa cakes, so it's not something that hasn't happened before. It's just a very British predicament. And if the VAT legislation confirms that this sandwich is actually a cake, M&S will have to pay quite a hefty VAT tax bill. It's slightly interesting, but just mostly kind of really random. Sometimes I think this little island is just a little bit weird. But this was part 7, my strawberry sando. Part 8 coming soon. Welcome to part 8 of 642 Things to Draw to Become a Better Illustrator. And today's prompt is a string quartet, which is an ensemble of musical instruments usually consisting of 2 violins, a viola and a cello, so I slightly resent that the space they gave me to draw 4 separate people is kind of small. It's not my best work. Drawing string instruments is something I've never really particularly enjoyed, but we did it, we pushed through, and here is my final piece for this prompt. Thanks for watching. Another day, another 642 Things to Draw to Become a Better Illustrator. Today's prompt is an ottoman. You know, one of those little seats that have storage inside of them. So I started sketching one up using the box method, where you draw a box to create this perspective lines. Because I did want it to be a little bit more interesting as well, I did decide to put an otter inside of this ottoman because I thought it was kind of punny. He's dropping a little shell. And during the inking stage, I did change his arm position because I thought it was a little bit odd. It made more sense for him to be dropping the shell with his little arm down slightly more. And I also decided to do a little bit of hatching just on the inside of the ottoman, just to show that it does have some depth and it is a 3D object. So this was my otter inside of an ottoman. The next prompt is a bottle opener, which I do have an idea for, so come back for the next part to see that. Welcome back to 642 Things to Draw to Become a Better Illustrator, and this is part 10. I can't believe we've got this far already, and today's prompt is a bottle opener. Now, I don't know about you, but I have been seeing fish-shaped household objects absolutely everywhere at the moment, from vases to oil bottles to bottle openers, and I decided to go for drawing some of the bottle openers today because I wanted them to kind of look like an alternating pattern or a school of fish. Now, these scales did take quite a long time to sketch out and also to line in the end, but I think this might be one of my favourite pages so far. I really like how the fish bottle openers look all together like this, especially once they're all completely lined with the ohuhu 0.05 fineliner that we've been using for this entire book so far. And this is me just erasing the last of my sketches. Come back for the next part, which will be a fire escape. It's part 11 of 642 Things to Draw to Become a Better Illustrator, and today's prompt is a fire escape. I just thought I'd also show some of the materials that I use. I've used these materials for every prompt so far: a Papermate mechanical pencil, a Faber-Castell eraser, and an ohuhu 0.05 fineliner. Now, I did also have to break out a ruler for this one as well, just because a fire escape has a lot of straight lines. Now, in the UK, a fire escape is just kind of any door that leads to outside. It usually has a big push bar on it and some kind of little green man symbol like above it, which is what I drew as well. I know that if you just Google fire escape, you will get a lot of those big tall buildings with the switchback staircases on, and fire escapes in the UK aren't necessarily like that. Usually they are just kind of a door to the outside, mostly on the ground floor. This one I did need to get a reference for, simply because trying to get the perspective was a little odd. Come back for part 12. Welcome back to another day of 642 Things to Draw to Become a Better Illustrator, and today's prompt is quite an interesting one actually. It is illuminated plankton. Now, this is a natural phenomenon in nature. It is bioluminescent plankton, which are tiny microorganisms found in the sea, found in like warm or cool oceans, and it's actually a defense mechanism that these tiny little microscopic creatures use. They light up to try and ward off predators, and the effect is actually beautiful. It's like blue or green in the ocean, so I wanted to draw someone stepping into it because I feel like it would be quite satisfying to walk through, because as you move the water they all kind of light up. You can see a lot of photos on like Google and stuff, and I just wanted to do sort of wavy kind of patterns with stars to look like the plankton because they are microscopic. And yeah, sorry for drawing feet though. And the next prompt is going to be a cabin. See you then. Welcome back to part 13 of 642 Things to Draw to Become a Better Illustrator. And today's prompt is a cabin. Now, trying to find a cabin reference that was not AI, really hard. I need to stop using Pinterest. If someone has a better version of like somewhere I can find references that is not Pinterest and is not flooded with AI, please let me know. But yeah, this is just my little sketch. It's a little wonky, and I've just come back from doing a book illustration course, which sort of taught me a little bit more about layout, and so I wanted to put in more of like a foreground of this, also to kind of hide my wonky mistakes, because perspective is very hard, but I kind of wanted to go for like a cozy theme. So here is my cabin. It's another part of 642 Things to Draw to Become a Better Illustrator. Yay! Today's prompt is a mushroom. Now, I did have this book previously, so I have stuck a little bit of printer paper over the top of what I did like years and years ago, because quite honestly, it was terrible. So I wanted to sort of keep myself within this printer paper because it is a different texture and my fine liners might not be too happy with it. But I think it went quite well. My fine liners didn't bleed, which is a plus. And I went for a little snail hanging off the edge of a mushroom because I think snails are so cute. They try so hard. I adore them so much. I think even though they don't really have faces per se, they have a lot of personality for a creature so tiny. So yeah, this was mushrooms. It's part 15 of 642 things to draw to become a better illustrator, and today's prompt is shrubbery. I did think about doing kind of a Ghibli-esque landscape, but thought that because of the one above it, it might blend into it a little bit. So I went for these big heart-shaped leaves, again in the ohuhu 0.05 fineliner. I really wanted this square to be very full and overflowing with these leaves, as if you're almost looking through it. I think these three prompts all kind of go together quite well. The next prompt is Bob Marley, which I don't think is going to be the same sort of vibe as these three very nature-themed prompts. We'll see how it goes in the next one. Welcome back to part 16 of 642 things to draw to become a better illustrator. And today's prompt is Bob Marley, who is considered one of the pioneers of reggae music, who was born in 1945 and died in 1981. So we're just going for like a little portrait for this today. I'm so sorry about this voiceover. I am sick. I have a cold, but we move. I did use a photo reference for this, as I wanted it to be fairly accurate to his face structure and recognisable as to who he is as a person, as he is. His most famous song, I think everybody knows, would be Three Little Birds, that came out in 1977. And with this portrait, I just wanted to do a little bit of like sunshine rays and really go off of the sunny vibe I get from a lot of the music. I also wanted to try adding texture to his hair and doing lots of little lines with, again, the 0.05 ohuhu fineliner, and I really liked this effect. I did have to speed it up a little bit more because otherwise this video would have been really long, but I do like how this came out, and I'm quite pleased with the accuracy of the portrait considering I hadn't drawn it in a couple of days. But yeah, come back for the next part. It's part 17 of 642 things to draw to become a better illustrator, and today's prompt is a full house. Now, I really struggled with an idea for this one. Every single time I Google the phrase a full house, that TV show comes up, which I've honestly never seen. And I wanted to do something based on something I've actually seen. And then I remembered there's that scene in Alice in Wonderland where she gets stuck inside of the White Rabbit's house because she eats one of the treats, and it makes her the size of the house. And I kind of wanted to draw that. I thought it would be quite whimsical. So here are just her arms and legs peeping out of a little Tudor cottage. As this was a full page illustration space, I wanted to go quite detailed with it, and I really wasn't sure about how to show her face or if to show Alice in Wonderland's face at all, so I did leave that till the very end. And as you can see, I did just decide to sort of hatch across it just to show shadow instead rather than drawing her face. But yeah, this is the final illustration, a full house. It's part 18 of 642 things to draw to become a better illustrator, and today's prompt is bubbles. Now, because the last prompt was very Alice in Wonderland themed, I kind of had Disney on the brain, and all I could think of was that one scene in Dumbo where the pink elephant bubbles go around, but I didn't want to draw an elephant, so I decided on a whale in the classic 0.05 ohuhu fineliner that we've been using this entire time, and just with some other little bubbles and sparkles around as well. And at the very last minute, I did also add some little like wishes in the background, although I'm not quite sure how I feel about this. As this is just a line art entire series, I'm not entirely sure I managed to capture the full bubble effect. Come back for the next prompt, which is fangs, and let's see what we do. It's part 19 of 642 things to draw to become a better illustrator. Now, I must apologise, I'm still sick, so my voice sounds like crisps being walked on right now. But today's prompt is fangs, and I really struggled with this prompt for a little while because there's so many different types of vampire media I enjoy, from Twilight to What We Do in the Shadows. There's so many different types of vampires depicted, like Nosferatu and things like that. But then I remembered that I really like to draw pretty anime people with amazing hair, so that would be Alucard from Castlevania. So here is my drawing. I took a screenshot from the series. I can't remember if it's from series 1 or 2. Again, using the 0.05 ohuhu fineliner that we've been using for the entire book, and just copying the screenshot as best as I can. It's not 100% accurate, but I'm quite pleased with this, considering that this was another page where I had another bit of printer paper just stuck over it because I had tried to draw something in here previously and it didn't fully erase. But here we are. This is my little Castlevania fan art. Hopefully for the next part I'll have my voice back. It's part 20 of 642 things to draw to become a better illustrator. Now just a quick warning here, if you do have trypophobia or the fear of tiny holes, don't watch this one because I did draw some pickle seeds because the prompt is pickle and they do kind of look a bit like holes, so skip this one. And this is another prompt where I had drawn it previously. I think the original was actually a really old, terrible drawing of Pickle Rick and put printer paper over the top just to try and change it to more my style now and put a little bit more effort into it, quite honestly. And because of the shape of the box for this one, I did go for a slice of pickle, some dill and some little extra seeds floating around. I would have liked to have done a bit more of like the jar or something like that, but all of the prompts on this page are this sort of oblong shape that's a little bit awkward. So there we are, there is my pickle, and the next prompt is an ironing board. I'm not quite sure how to make that interesting, but come back and find out. It's me and it's part 21 of 642 things to draw to become a better illustrator, and today's prompt is an ironing board, which is kind of boring and if not more boring than the activity itself, so I tried to make it kind of cute with doing an ice cream cone cover on top of it. But I am glad as a society that we kind of left ironing behind. Like, it's only for special occasions, and I don't know about you, but I grew up watching my mum iron for ages, watching Neighbours. And while I do kind of like Neighbours as a series, the idea of standing there ironing for ages just sounds really dull. But here is my ironing board, and come back for the next prompt. Welcome back to part 22 of 642 things to draw to become a better illustrator, and today's prompt is a dolphin. Now, as a child of the 90s, I had dolphin figurines thrust upon me, and this one is actually from my childhood. I was really inspired by this and like the Lisa Frank idea, so that's kind of what we're going for. We're going for cutesy, adorable dolphin with clouds and rainbows and stars and like all of that kind of stuff that just went with the really kind of colourful aesthetic. Now, I didn't actually have anything Lisa Frank because I don't actually think it was in the UK very much when I was a kid, but I think I still managed to get the vibes even though I'm not doing any colour. It is just pure fineliner, again using the 0.05 ohuhu fineliner that we've been using for the entirety of this book, and trying to make the dolphin look shiny and obviously eyelashes because she's a girl dolphin. How else would you know? And after a few really boring prompts, I was really happy to do this one, which was a lot of fun and I really enjoyed it. So there is my 90s inspired dolphin, and come back for the next prompt. It's a paperclip. It's part 23 of 642 things to draw to become a better illustrator, and today's prompt is a paperclip. Now, all I could think of was Clippy. And if you grew up with Windows 98 on the family computer in the dining room like I did, you know who I'm talking about. This little guy is kind of creepy, and there is a lot of really weird fan art out there. Do not look it up. But I was inspired by the vaporwave aesthetic, although I didn't really know what I wanted him to say. I did, however, remember that I have this kind of like stencil thing for lettering that would give the effect of like computery lettering. I didn't really know if I wanted to do something kind of creepy or just nice, so he's just saying hello. And here he is finished, my Clippy for the prompt paperclip. Welcome back to part 23 of 642 things to draw to become a better illustrator, and today's prompt is a trumpet. Now for this one I really didn't know what I wanted to do, apart from obviously draw a trumpet, but I'm not really like a musical person. I've never really gelled with any instruments I've tried to play. I've borrowed friends to like have a go, and I have a ukulele, but trying to like actually play, my hands don't do the thing, so I don't have a huge frame of reference on how correct a trumpet should look, but here it is. Hopefully it looks trumpety. 642 things to draw to become a better illustrator, part 25, and this day's prompt is a burrito, to which it really just had to be Jake from Adventure Time holding his burrito. This is a series that I love, but to be honest, I've never actually finished it. I've restarted it so many times. Because I've forgotten where I am in the series. And it's an endless cycle of I just restart it and never finish. I'm kind of like that with TV shows though. Especially with Adventure Time, because I don't think it's on Netflix or anything. And when they do put it on, they only put on like a couple of seasons and not everything. Do you have any TV shows that you're like that with? Because like, I definitely can't be the only one. And it's kind of worse when I have DVDs, because then I forget where I am in the DVD. Like, why am I so forgetful with TV shows, for real? But here is my burrito for today's prompt. Part 26 of 642 things to draw to become a better illustrator. I can't believe we got this far already. And today's prompt is a tube sock. Now, after Googling what these actually are, they seem to be like ankle socks with two stripes around, or stripes around like the ankle part. And all I could think of is when people put like their greyhounds or chihuahuas in like the roll neck jumpers and they don't pull them down over their ears, they just look like a little nun dog. They're so cute. And I did find a reference of someone putting their dog in, maybe it was a blanket, I'm not really sure. I liked the folds though, so I wanted to really draw that, but also add like the tubing design to make it actually a tube sock. This did take a couple of tries to get the face right. I think we got there in the end. And I am loving the No AI Pinterest update, by the way, because that is where I found this reference picture. And having had that setting on, I don't have to like question it anymore. It's also labeled, this is actually a real photo. I'm so happy. It's just in your settings on desktop if you want to turn it on, by the way. And back to the drawing all of these folds was quite fun. I did like sort of edit it a little bit, deviate a little bit from my sketch. And as always, we're using the 0.05 ohuhu fineliner. I'm kind of a little bit concerned that it's not going to last the entirety of this book, you know, but hopefully it does. And here we are putting in like the tube design. A lot of the socks seem to be like ribbed. And here is my tube sock for day 25. And come back for the next part. 642 things to draw to become a better illustrator, part 27. And today's prompt was a crayon. And I couldn't draw anything else other than the iconic Crayola crown, really. Although just drawing a crayon in the space looked a little bit blank, so I decided to make it themed after the discontinued colour dandelion. I don't know if you've seen that girl who collects all of the dandelion crayon memorabilia, but this page made me really think of her. So surrounding it we have some little dandelion flowers and some leaves and the little fluffy seed things. I'm not entirely sure what they're called. Inking as always with our 0.05 ohuhu fineliner. Now if I wasn't doing this entire book with fineliners, I probably would have done this in crayon. I think it would look really cool as well. But it was quite therapeutic to draw all of the little petals of the dandelion flowers. So here is my Crayola dandelion crown in honour of that discontinued Crayola colour. And next time the prompt is robot, so come back for that. Part 28 of 642 things to draw to become a better illustrator, and today's prompt was a robot. And because this was just such a big page, I really wanted to do a full illustration for this, so this one did actually take quite a while. And you do not see the amount of times I struggled with the robot, but it had to be none other than the Iron Giant. I absolutely adore watching animated films, and this prompt really made me think of this film, even though I haven't seen it in a little while. It did make me want to rewatch it though. If you haven't seen it, it's a sci-fi that came out in 1999. Amusingly has Vin Diesel as one of the voice actors. I won't spoil who, you just have to see it. It was created by Warner Brothers Studio. For some reason in the UK, it's always on the TV around Christmas time. But it is a really good film. For my drawing, I really was inspired by the wood scene and also the way that Studio Ghibli draw their trees and clouds, which I did try to capture with, and obviously I used a lot of references of character sheets and screen grabs, and we're done. Welcome back to part 29 of 642 things to draw to become a better illustrator. Now, I have not picked up this series in quite some time. It was Christmas and then I got sick and then I just got really busy with life and then I got sick again. You can still probably hear it in my voice, and I just kind of was avoiding some of these pages. I'm not gonna lie, some of the prompts weren't really that inspiring. And I am trying to do this book in order, prompt by prompt, but sometimes you just have to pick up the pen and just do it. So I decided to go for a roller coaster space theme for this roller coaster prompt. And it's not my best, but it's not my worst. And I did still have fun doing this. And I really want to return to this series and do it a little bit more often, because I do genuinely enjoy doing this series and posting it for you guys. So let's continue and come back for the next part. Welcome back to part 30 of 642 things to draw to become a better illustrator. Now, if you don't like bugs, a warning, please skip this one because this prompt is a mosquito. Now, I'm not a huge fan of this creature either, so quite frankly, I didn't really want to draw this one at all, but we are going in order using the 0.05 ohuhu marker for this book, so it really did have to be done, and I had to face my fears of looking up references of mosquitoes, and they just look kind of weird up close. I really don't love them. I'm sure they're important animals for the ecosystem, but quite honestly, they're really not my favourite. Welcome back to part 31 of 642 things to draw to become a better illustrator, and this prompt is a fruit cocktail if I can get it in focus. Now, drawing food is something else I really want to practice, but trying to capture the glossy juiciness of fruit with just a fine liner was something I really wasn't quite sure how to do, so I decided to go for something in a glass where I could draw the sort of reflections and really try to capture some of that texture without having anything to actually give texture like paints or crayons or anything like that, since I have decided that this whole book is just going to be fine liner only. And after taking a break for a little while over Christmas, I'm still getting used to drawing again, so this prompt book is honestly the perfect way to do it. So come back for the next. Welcome back to part 32 of 642 things to draw to become a better illustrator, and today's prompt is a peg leg. Now, normally I would think of like drawing like a pirate or something like that, but I really wasn't in the mood to draw a pirate, and the box is quite small. So I found this image on Pinterest of a girl in like a pleated tennis skirt with her prosthetic leg decorated with flowers and roses, and I really enjoy drawing flowers. It's one of my favourite things to draw. It's so like easy for me to do and just turn off my brain, and today I really wasn't in the mood to think too hard about what I was drawing, so this is the image that I went with. And feet are still kind of hard to draw, so she does have kind of little socks on. Again, using the 0.05 ohuhu fine liner that we've been drawing with this entire book, and that was today's prompt. I think it came out pretty cute, to be honest. Come back for the next part. It's part 33 of 642 things to draw to become a better illustrator, and today's prompt is a spigot. Now, I did actually have to look up what that actually is. It's a tap, guys. It's just a tap. But I didn't want to just draw a tap. I thought that'd be a little bit boring, so I did find a reference image of this little cute like froggy tap. Now, I did draw it too small and too squished in the top of the page the first time I drew it, so I erased it and started again. You know, sometimes you just have to completely do that, and I'm still kind of learning with traditional art where to place things on the page to not like completely run out of space. But again, this is using the 0.05 ohuhu fine liner, and I also wanted to add like water coming out of this to show that it really is a tap, and just showing the reflections and things like that. And there we go, that was prompt 33. Welcome back to part 34 of 642 things to draw to become a better illustrator, and today's prompt is a balloon. Now, I didn't really want to just draw like any balloon. I really wanted to draw one of those really iconic balloon dogs, which was made famous by an artist called Jeff Koons. If you've seen like replicas of that sculpture pretty much everywhere. But I wanted to capture the reflections and shininess of the balloon dog itself, and still only using the 0.05 ohuhu marker. I kind of wanted to go for like a cross-hatched or hatched look so that you could still see the shininess. And these little lines took absolutely forever, but then I felt like you lost the, oh my god, can you hear that car? Anyway, that's what you get for living near a main road, right? But anyway, I went over the lines of the balloon dog itself with a thicker pen just so you could really see them, and I think this came out really cute. It's 642 things to draw to become a better illustrator, part 35. Now, this one I did way back in pre-COVID times, and I hated it so much I had to stick a piece of paper over the top of it, so we're going to redraw it and see if I can do it any better. The prompt is head in the clouds, and I still wanted to keep the same concept, but instead perhaps have the clouds be more like a hair texture, and actually have like human anatomy, so it actually looks like a real person. And I do think I improved on this. It turns out actually using a reference for a human head helps. It's okay to use references, guys. Now, I'm trying to get to 1,000 followers on TikTok here, so if you could follow me, that would be amazing, and come back for the next prompt where we will see what we draw next. Part 36 of 642 things to draw to become a better illustrator. And I kind of took a little bit of a break from this series. It was my birthday this week, so I just spent my time celebrating and hanging out with friends. But when I did come back to this, I decided that I was going to draw the Milky Way chocolate bar instead of the Milky Way a galaxy, because I just wanted to. It seemed easier in my brain, and I do remember those little chocolate stars that had the little faces on. They were so cute, if you remember those. I'm also trying to get to 1,000 followers here on TikTok, so if you'd like my work, please follow, and see you next time. 642 Things to Draw to Become a Better Illustrator, part 37. I can't believe we've got this far, and I'm actually sticking with a project that I've been wanting to do. Obviously I take breaks, but we're only human, and that kind of takes me to today's prompt. And I really struggled with this one because I just thought it was such a boring prompt. But then I remembered when I was way back in my tattoo apprenticeship, we had to draw rope like this. So that's kind of how I wanted to do it. Thicker on the outside, thinner on the inside, and trying to get all of those lovely ropey, knotty textures back when I was learning to draw in the neo-traditional style. I'm trying to get to 1,000 followers here on TikTok, so if you like what I do and you like this series, please follow me here, and in the future you might be able to buy a colouring book and I might be able to link my store. Thank you. Part 38 of 642 Things to Draw to Become a Better Illustrator. Now, I really feel like I could have done this prompt so much better. It was an old key, and there's so many things you could do with that, like the Harry Potter flying keys. I know that's kind of like not really a thing we talk about anymore, but you know, I'm a millennial. I grew up with it. It's where my brain goes to. The idea of something magical and old, and I just really couldn't think of anything. Plus, drawing a key seemed kind of difficult, so I went with a heart shape and just kind of a ribbon and some leaves. And I wish I planned this one out better because I'm not a huge fan of the composition. But as always, please follow me here on TikTok. I'm trying to get to 1,000 followers. See you next time. We are so back with this series, and this is part 39 of 642 Things to Draw to Become a Better Illustrator, and today's prompt is a submarine. Now, I don't know about you, and maybe it's just my Britishness showing, but I really cannot think about submarines without thinking about The Yellow Submarine by the Beatles. This is the submarine from the music video, and I did have to look up references, but I think it came out pretty cute. Now, I'm trying to reach 1,000 followers on TikTok, so I would really appreciate it if you give me a follow. See you next time. Part 40 of 642 Things to Draw to Become a Better Illustrator. And today's prompt is a tulip. And I don't know about you, but we have had such terrible weather all year so far. And this prompt was really making me feel like spring. And I've recently discovered that I do have really bad hay fever, but actually tulips do not affect it at all. So I've been bringing tulips into the house and letting them blossom on our dining room table. It's really lovely to see in the mornings when I'm getting ready for work. I also think that the pen I've been using for this project so far might be running out. I'm also trying to get to 1,000 followers across all platforms, including TikTok. So if you could give me a follow, that would be hugely appreciated. Come back for part 41. Part 41 of 642 Things to Draw to Become a Better Illustrator. And I don't know what was up with me today, but I just really did not like how this page turned out. It was a really massive struggle to actually do, and I really wasn't feeling the prompt itself. I had a couple of different references open at the same time, and I really couldn't decide which one to actually focus on. So because of this, I kind of just combined both of them. But I didn't really like how this turned out at all. I feel like I was really focused on trying to make the prompt more interesting when it can just be quite simple and just a gold medal itself. I feel like my hands and brain really weren't listening to each other and really weren't connected. But sometimes it's just one of those days and everybody has an off art day, and for me that was today. But I will try again tomorrow with the next prompt, and we'll keep going with this series. Because that's the whole point, just to keep going and keep trying. And speaking of, I'm trying to get to 1,000 followers across all platforms. That includes TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, everything. So if you really like my content and enjoy this series, please follow. But for now, we'll see what the next prompt has in store for us. Part 42 of 642 Things to Draw to Become a Better Illustrator, and today's prompt was synchronized swimmers. I was definitely putting this prompt off when I saw that that was what it was, because well, it just kind of looked quite difficult to draw. Finding the correct reference was actually quite hard. And you see, I started with a different one and then just simply decided I did not want to draw that many people. So I changed references and settled on 2. Now for the faces, I did have to flip the entire book upside down because these synchronized swimmers are diving into the pool, and I don't think I can actually draw a face upside down. I did draw the rest of the bodies upside down though, which was an interesting exercise in seeing things differently. I'm trying to get to 1,000 followers on TikTok and across all of my social medias, so if you like my content, please give me a follow. Part 43 of 642 Things to Draw to Become a Better Illustrator. And this prompt was pom-poms, and honestly all I could think of was pom-pom purin, and I kind of needed to link that back into pom-pom some way, so I tried to draw pom-pom purin made out of pom-poms. I didn't actually have a reference for this at all, so I feel like you can kind of tell that I didn't quite manage to get the pom-pom texture until further on in the actual drawing, when my hand actually loosened up and I managed to get those looser shapes. I'm trying to get to 1,000 followers across all of my platforms, so if you like my work, please give me a follow. Part 44 of 642 Things to Draw to Become a Better Illustrator. And after 2 massive full pages, we are finally back to the tiny little boxes. And today's prompt is a juice box. I was really in the mood to draw something really cute. So as well as it being a juice box, it is self-love juice. I had a lot of fun drawing the typography for this one. I was inspired by 60s typography. And I really wanted to draw something quite cute, as well as trying to capture the sort of gooey shininess of spilling juice. I have also finally changed to a 0.1 fine liner because the 0.05 finer we've been using so far has finally died. It made it quite far. I'm also trying to get to 1,000 followers across all social medias, including TikTok, so if you like my content, please give me a follow, and see you for part 45. Part 45 of 642 Things to Draw to Become a Better Illustrator, and today's prompt is a jar full of pennies. Now, I really didn't want to draw just a jar full of pennies. That sounded like an awful lot of circles to draw, but I was thinking about the film The Borrowers and The Secret Life of Arrietty, which is the Studio Ghibli version of The Borrowers, which is a film where they are tiny people who borrow objects from humans. And I was just thinking how cute it would be how their version of a piggy bank where they stole money would probably be a penny-sized jar. So that's what I went with. It's so cute. It has some leaves as a nod for Ghibli vibes, as well as some stars. And I just really think that this prompt came out really cute. And this whole page is, to be honest. I'm trying to get to 1,000 followers across all of my socials, including TikTok. So if you like this content and want to see part 46, please give me a follow, and I'll see you next time. Part 46 of 642 Things to Draw to Become a Better Illustrator, and today's prompt is a bag of hammers. Now, I totally misread this prompt and for some reason had it in my head that this just said a box of hammers, but to be honest, I really didn't want to follow the prompt that closely anyway. I was thinking of workshops and how the smell of sawdust smells. I don't know about you guys, but like my granddad used to have a workshop and it would smell amazing of sawdust. I really love the smell, and I could think of just mice, and it was just giving me like fairy tale children's book story kind of vibe. So that's what I went with. I drew a single hammer in a box because I didn't want to draw more than one, quite frankly, and 4 mice and a spanner and some nails because, again, workshop. And I don't really feel like I followed the prompt that closely, to be honest, but it came out really cute. I really liked it. I'm trying to get to 1,000 followers across all my socials, including TikTok, so if you like my content, please give me a follow. 642 Things to Draw to Become a Better Illustrator, part 47, and today's prompt is jelly beans. This one was quite simple, to be honest, just some jelly beans. That is exactly what we drew. Cute, sparkly, and to be honest, not really my favourite sweet. I'm not a huge fan of jelly beans personally. I would much rather have chocolate. But to keep it cute, I decided to just do a couple of jelly beans in a tiny little bag, or maybe they're giant jelly beans, I don't know the scale of these, and inking them with the 0.1 ohuhu fine liner, since the 0.05 did not make it this far, RIP to that pen. I'm wondering how many pens this entire book will go through. But this was a fairly simple prompt, and to be honest, after the last 3, where I kind of maybe overcomplicated a little bit, it was kind of nice just to draw something chill. I'm also trying to get to 1,000 followers across all of my socials, including TikTok, so if you like this series, please give me a follow and come back for part 47. Part 48 of 642 Things to Draw to Become a Better Illustrator, and today's prompt is a sundial. I kind of misjudged filming this one and didn't actually press the time-lapse setting, so ended up with over 10 minutes of footage and then only managed to edit it down to 1 minute 53, and now I'm not entirely sure if I can speak about sundials for that long. I don't actually know that much about them. I just think they were pretty, and we mostly see them in gardens, so that's kind of what I went for. Now, I did also make a couple of mistakes in drawing this one, especially with the inking stage. I think I just really wasn't engaged properly in my brain, so I did actually either fix this with a white acrylic pen in the inking stage or attempted to try to make it part of the design. This is also actually my second time doing the voiceover for this because I was a little bit silly and pressed the wrong button, and I had a completely different voiceover for this where I found sundial facts and things like that, but I accidentally deleted it, so you don't get any of the sundial facts. I think they were Egyptian. That's all I can remember, really. If you have any, you should drop them in the comments just to make up for it, you know. Now, as we are nearing the 50th drawing in this series, I would like to actually do perhaps a longer video, which I will post on my YouTube channel, which will be a supercut of all 50 of these prompts so far. But I also want to show you guys all of them on here, on TikTok and Instagram and everything as well. So I will edit that video in 2 videos time, because obviously that's how many we've got left. So keep an eye out for those, and I am still trying to get to 1,000 followers across all of my social media, including TikTok. So if you do enjoy my content, please give me a follow. It would be greatly appreciated. And I'll see you next time for part 49. Part 49 of 642 things to draw to become a better illustrator. Today's prompt is a crystal ball, and it's one of those pages where you can see my old drawing underneath it. I did stick a little bit of paper over the top of it, because as I mentioned earlier in this series, I have had this book for quite a long time, and I did start it, I think maybe around 2020. I would just flip to a random page, and this must have been one of them. But to be honest, I think I can do much better now. It does mean that I have to fill up the entire box as much as possible just so that you can't really see any of the old design anymore, and I think I managed it by including the snake and a little bit more of the background. Because I could see the old design, I really did struggle to come up with something that I liked. It was kind of distracting, but we got there in the end, and I'm trying to get to 1,000 followers across all of my social medias, including TikTok, so if you like my content, please give me a follow. Part 50 of 642 things to draw to become a better illustrator, and we have made it so far with this series, and I will be posting a carousel of all 50 prompts as well as a supercut over on my YouTube channel. And while I'm drawing today's prompt of a synthesizer, which quite honestly I'm still not entirely sure what that thing does, I think it's something to do with music, I just want to give you guys a little bit of an update on this series. Now, before we move on to part 51, I will be taking a little bit of a break from this series, and I will post another video explaining why. But I am really enjoying this series, even though there's 642 prompts. I think it is improving my line quality, and even though I'm not doing this series in colour, because quite frankly I think that would take me such a long time to do, and there are other projects that I want to do as well as this. I do really enjoy it, and if you do too, I'm still trying to get to 1,000 followers across all of my social media, including TikTok, so please give me a follow. It's been all 50 prompts so far in the 642 series. If you do like this, please let me know in the comments, and maybe we can continue this series. I will be taking a little bit of a break, but this is something I'm really interested in and have really enjoyed doing it. So yeah, thank you for watching, and please like and subscribe so that when I come back to this and continue this series, you'll be notified of it. Thank you.